Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera, bersama saya Najib Aruf dalam Niaga Kini. Okey, episod minggu ini saya ingin berbual Crowdu. Crowdu ini merupakan satu platform crowdfunding di Asia Tenggara. Kita bersama dengan pengasas bersamanya dan juga Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif Kumpulan Crowdu iaitu Leo Shimanada untuk membincangkan bagaimana Crowdu ini beroperasi di 3 pasaran utama Singapura, Indonesia dan juga Malaysia dan pengembangannya dan juga pengenalan AI bagi due diligence bagi Crowdu yang pertama di Asia Tenggara. Jom kita saksikan dalam Niaga Kini. Alright, Leo, thank you so much for joining us. First of all, talking about Crowdu, share with us about Crowdu and when it is established.
Right, okay. Well, thank you very much for having me, Najib. Crowdu was launched in 2013. We launched with a vision to create an online marketplace where small, medium-sized enterprises and startups can come to an online platform to efficiently raise funds. And our role was to basically connect them with a global community of investors. So that was the original premise. Since 2013, we hit a lot of milestones. We were one of the first operators here in Malaysia to be registered by the Securities Commission for equity crowdfunding. We were one of the first to be licensed in Singapore by the Monetary Authority of Singapore, and also one of the first to be registered with the OJK as well in Indonesia.
I want to know about the AI due diligence in the Crowdu, right? Maybe you can explain further for the SMEs out there to understand AI due diligence for Crowdu.
Right, okay. So one of the things as a financial technology or fintech startup, what we're trying to do is to help businesses efficiently raise funds. So if you think about the process for equity crowdfunding or for peer-to-peer lending, a business makes an application. The operator, as a licensed operator, we need to do due diligence before it's published on the website for investors to invest in. Now, we have invested a lot of capital and resources to build up a due diligence engine which makes use of the latest technologies in artificial intelligence. So if you think about the traditional way, the reason why SMEs and also startups take 6 to 8 months for the application to get processed is because it's a largely manual and paper-based process. So if you hand in your application today as a business owner, many of the operators and many of the traditional financial institutions are going through the paperwork, assessing it page by page, page by page. Now, the challenge with this is that you could actually use a lot of technology, whether it's artificial intelligence, machine learning processes, to compress a 6 to 8 manual process to a 2-week digital process. So we use the latest algorithms based on artificial intelligence to use a massive amount of data points. So we use close to 3,000 or 4,000 data points to assist with the due diligence process. So we don't have to depend so much on documentation provided solely by the business owner, but also collect data from the web in terms of macroeconomics, microeconomics, the business sector environment, what's happening in your sector, what's happening with other fundraisers in your sector as well.
Yeah, okay. I want to talk about the underserved SMEs because you have such a great data, I'm sure, through the AI due diligence system, right? How do you see or how do you view what's lacking in SMEs for in applying for the loans? What are they lacking?
To be honest, I don't think they're lacking anything. They're business owners. They're great at doing business, but they're often, not great financiers. So either their financial data is unstructured, they don't know how to compile their, financing needs. So this is something as, fintech companies will assist them with. So all of our applications are templated, they're standardized, they're online, so that a business owner can focus on what he does best, which is focusing on growing and operating his business. And when he's coming up with his financing needs, he has a very efficient and clear path that he needs to follow online. There's this thing called a funding gap. So it's the amount of financing that businesses need as a regular course of their business, as opposed to available capital. Yeah. And you'll see that even in markets like Singapore, even Malaysia, Indonesia, that gap is close to like 30 or 40 billion US dollars. That means that there's a significant amount of money just not going to the Malaysian businesses. So of course, the Malaysian businesses, if they have not gotten sufficient access to capital before, they do not know the processes. But we also see this as an opportunity as well, because there's no preconceived notions on how applications need to be done.
Yep.
So we're hoping that that leads in turn for them to be more open and willing to adopt new and faster, more efficient, digital-driven ways of application and due diligence.
I want to talk about the P2P financings because in Malaysia it is relatively still new in Malaysia, right? But how do you foresee for the P2P financing, especially in Southeast Asian market?
Yeah, I think that because of the fundamental issue of the funding gap for small, medium-sized enterprises and also for startups across the region, there's a huge market opportunity. Already where we have gone fully commercial with our peer-to-peer lending products, primarily Indonesia, we see our growth close to 400 or 500% in the few months that we've been operating. So today, I could tell you that if you're a business owner and you come to us, I'll complete your due diligence within 2 weeks' time flat, right? Our funding is typically a few $100,000 US within a few hours' time, right? If you look at your investors, which are putting in investment, half of that will be local and half of that will be foreign investors, which is great for you because you're not only relying on local domestic investors, you're tapping into a pool of FDI, foreign direct investments, which will be coming from East Asia, Western Europe, and other parts of the world as well.
I want to ask about, because if you see the conventional banks, they are normally go for traditional markets of traditional sectors for businesses, right?
Right.
Should the P2P financing, be it in Malaysia or Southeast Asia, focus on the new markets such as technology, which is in Malaysia, for instance, the conventional bank is very slow in giving out loan because of the due diligence system or because they some sort of trust issue, like because they still trust the traditional sector that bring more money and all that. Yeah. Should the P2P financing focus on more into new market, such as technology and all that?
I think that what we see in other markets, that the initial stage, the clients which go to conventional financial institutions like banks and the companies which come to new financing platforms like ourselves is actually not too different, because at the end of the day, SMEs, startups, they're looking for more efficient, effective ways of financing, right? It is true that at the moment, because of the availability of supply, that banks are a bit more advantaged. If the businesses are willing to spend a long time to access that financing, banking is actually a very good choice, right? But many of the businesses, many of our clients, actually need that cash very quickly for working capital needs or for project financing needs. If I look at other markets where we do peer-to-peer lending, we see that about 50% of our clients already have access to banking products, but they'll still come to us because of the speed of distribution.
Okay, I want to talk about the problem or some sort of dilemma for financing in Malaysia, right? Or in Southeast Asia, because no matter, we are trying to provide the platform and easy access for financing. We have the due diligence system, AI due diligence system, but somehow the NPL, or non-performing loan, is still one of the factors that scared the providers the most, right? Do you think that this would hinder the growth for P2P financing?
I think it's definitely a consideration. And I think that's why Crowdo, whichever market we go to, we don't operate in the gray area. We will go out and proactively acquire licenses or get registered with the central bank or the Securities Commission, as the case may be. So that's one. I think the second thing is the investors all across the world, when they're making investments into the platform, they're looking for transparency. We're very transparent in terms of the type of companies that we're looking after. We disclose and share most of our due diligence outcomes as well, saying that here are the financials of the business, here are the key risks associated with industry, associated with the business as well, so that the investors can make transparent, informed investment decisions, looking at that data. The third thing is basically we have a very experienced team. So the team, myself, I've spent close to 10 years at one of the top tier consulting firms looking at financing and technology. The management team is ex-bankers who also have technology training as well. And I think that gives confidence to a lot of the investor base. In terms of the NPLs, one of the things is that it's the same with the conventional financing industry, where there will always be NPLs, and that's the unfortunate thing about investments, but it's also the natural thing as well. While we will not be able to eliminate non-performance loans or NPLs, it is our responsibility to mitigate it as much as possible, right? So that's why Crowd has taken a very different track from saying that, look, the NPL responsibility is solely with investors or funders. We have no responsibility over it. And actually taking a very different course, investing in new technology to make sure that we're mitigating risk while making it more efficient for business to raise funds.
All right. Leo, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
We have in Niaga Kini tadi Leo Shumada, iaitu pengasas bersama dan juga ketua pegawai eksekutif kumpulan Crowdo bincangkan tentang Crowdo ini, financing di Asia Tenggara ini. Saya Najib Arif, kita jumpa minggu depan dalam Niaga Kini untuk perbincangan tentang PKS di Malaysia. Assalamualaikum.